But the good news is it's all an ecological issue. And so you could start to improve your ecology. And as a result of that, you'll start making, huge strides in all of this. I think number one, everyone needs to think about supporting their liver, right? So we talked about that earlier. It's often the forgotten organ. It's taking the brunt of most things, and you want foundationally your liver to be under good, healthy support. So with the liver, make sure you're focusing on the liver. Second part is your microbiome. You need to enhance the beneficial bacteria, stop leaky gut, reduce the dysfunctional microbes, use the spore-based probiotics, prebiotics, fiber in the diet, and so on to upregulate those things. You want to reduce as much as you can exposure to these chemicals. Right now, that's really hard to completely eliminate them, right? You're going to be exposed to them, so don't get stressed and anxious about it, but stop some of the egregious exposures. So the egregious exposures would be things like buying food, even if it's organic and healthy food, that's packaged in plastic.
Mhm.
Right. So that you're bringing home microplastics on your food. Stop storing food in Tupperware or plastic containers, right? They will leach microplastics into your food and the forever chemicals that are used to coat the microplastics. Stop heating your food in plastic, right? So don't put it in plastic bowls or Tupperware and heat it up in the microwave. You're going to leach in more of those chemicals and so on. Stop using nonstick cookware, right? So all the nonstick coatings and all that contain all these chemicals and so on. Try to reduce drinking water out of plastic bottles.
Mhm.
Drink as much as you can out of stainless steel. Those are the kinds of things you can do. And then look at your personal care products, right? What are you putting on your body? Your soaps, your lotions, your toners, your serums, all these things. If they have a lot of parabens or phthalates and fragrances, all of those things need to be reduced and minimized. Fragrances are a big thing, right? So don't have scented candles burning in your house, because that's paraffin, and then they're releasing volatile organic compounds into your airways when you burn those scented candles, right? So and having all these air fresheners around, or perfumes and body washes with fragrances, all of those fragrance compounds are volatile chemicals that have a negative effect on your endocrine system, on your microbiome, and everything else, right? So you can't be a purist. You can't live like a monk on the side of a mountain, right? It's not practical, but you can dramatically reduce your exposure, and at the same time building up your system, your microbiome, your liver, your gallbladder, your bile salts, all of those things, so that your body can deal with it in a more effective way.
So, you think back to when I was growing up and I was eating out of plastic, I was using the microwave. But we also didn't have the level of toxins that we're dealing with now. So my body could probably handle it 30 years
Mhm.
ago. And I was younger. So my body was more resilient. And it's so interesting. People will just fall off a cliff with their health because they're like, wait a second, I haven't changed anything. And all of a sudden, I have all of these issues coming up. And it's part of like that tipping point. Your body says,
Mhm.
I give up. I can't do anymore. With the spore-based biotic, Megaspore is the one that you and I both really get behind, and I take it every day. And with that, the Mega Pre and the Mega Mucosa, can you explain why that is so much more beneficial to our microbiome than taking just a probiotic?
Yeah, the key part is number one, you want it to survive through the gastric system, right? So the probiotic, in order to function, to really help and change the microbiome, it has to survive through the gastric system and make its way to the intestines in a living state. The benefit of the spore is they're able to do that. So they have this natural calcified armor like coating on their outside that allows them to survive through the gastric system and make their way to the intestines alive. So that's the first step. The second step is when they get to the gut, they do something called quorum sensing, where they have the ability to read the microbial environment. And as a result of reading the microbial environment, they can find the dysfunctional microbes and then sit next to them and compete against them and bring them down. So they're really good at killing down or reducing the number of opportunistic and dysfunctional microbes, including fungus and mold and so on. So that's a great thing. And then they produce compounds that increase the growth of the beneficial bacteria, and they help train the immune system at the same time, right? So imagine that they are the police and the trainers of your gut, going in and really reforming the ecosystem and the environment. And then we've done studies where we show that they also seal up the lining of the gut. So they stop the leakiness of the gut. So they reduce the impact on the liver. They stop all those toxins from going through. So they reduce that chronic low grade inflammation as well. And then when you put in the prebiotic, it feeds specifically keystone bacteria. These are the really important species of bacteria that enhance the microbiome in a positive way and produce lots of short chain fatty acids, sealing up the lining of the gut, modulating immune response, improving metabolic response, and so on. And then the final product, the mega mucosa, provides the building blocks of a healthy gut lining. You need that in order to continuously maintain the lining of the gut, right? So what you really need in terms of a healthy gut is high diversity in the gut microbiome, high production of gut-specific postbiotics like short-chain fatty acids and so on, low levels of opportunistic organisms, a sealed up lining of the gut, and a thick mucosal layer. These three products combined do all of those things for you. Right. So they become a very simple total gut restoration. That's why we call the kit of all three of them together total gut restoration. You add that to reducing toxigenic exposure, increasing exercise, cleaning up your diet, supporting your liver. The system gets a revamp and a reset quite quickly.
And that would be different than just a typical probiotic. So, what is a probiotic going to do? Because Megaspore is that policeman,
Mhm.
trainer. So the probiotics, are they just the soldiers that go without any organization or have no direction?
So, unfortunately, the typical probiotic, what actually happens is most of those strains die in your stomach, and then you just get a bunch of bacterial debris moving through, and you poop them out 10 hours, 12 hours later. So, they're not doing a whole lot of anything. So, when people see at the health food stores these probiotics sitting there on the shelf with 50 billion CFUs and 25 strains and all that, there's this misnomer that that's somehow more potent or more effective. It's not. It's just stuff that's going to die in your stomach and not end up doing anything. So what you really need is a researched blend that has clinical trials on the finished blend. The vast majority of probiotics that people have access to online or and health food stores and all that don't have any research behind it at all, so you have no idea what it actually does. And in many cases, it can be inflammatory, so they can actually make people worse by
Mhm.
triggering an unwanted immune response against all that bacterial debris, right? And so you want to be careful. You want to use a probiotic that has clinical studies that is going to be doing something that your gut needs. And everybody's gut needs more diversity, sealing up of the leaky of the intestinal permeability, increased short chain fatty acids, and increased keystone species. Like that is, not something that anyone could argue against reasonably. Everybody needs that, and that's healthy universally for all the guts across the board.